Hey, it's great to see you again. Today we're going to talk about something that doesn't often get the honest, real conversation it deserves. Sex. Not the kind of over-the-top movie script sex. Not the performance, not the checklist, not the how to drive a man wild with 3 moves kind of gimmick. I'm talking about the real stuff. The kind of moments that happen when 2 people are in bed, the lights are low, or maybe not, and something electric is building between them. That moment where everything else fades and it's just the 2 of you, body to body, breath to breath. Now, when it comes to what men find sexy in bed, there's a huge misconception that it's all about technique or appearance, that it's about having the perfect lingerie or knowing some secret move that unlocks his desire like a cheat code. But let me tell you something that men don't always say out loud. The sexiest things you can do in bed have nothing to do with being a porn star or reading from a playbook. The things that make a man really feel turned on, deeply, mentally, emotionally, physically, are often subtle, intuitive, and totally unrehearsed. They're about how you carry yourself, how you express your pleasure, how you connect, and yes, how you make him feel. Not just physically, but as a man. When you show up as someone who's comfortable in her skin, unafraid to express desire, willing to receive love and pleasure and connection, you become magnetic. So if you've ever wondered, what do men actually remember about great sex? What do they talk about when they say there was just something about her? This is it. These 6 things I'm about to share with you are based not just on male fantasy, but on real intimacy. They're sexy, yes, but more importantly, they're real. Let's get into the 6 sexiest things women do in bed according to men. And some of them might surprise you. There's something undeniably magnetic about a woman who is confident in her desire. And I'm not just talking about a woman who's open to intimacy. I mean a woman who owns her pleasure, who isn't waiting for permission to want, who isn't tiptoeing around her own appetite as if it's something that needs to be managed or muted. Desire, when it's expressed with confidence, is unbelievably sexy. Not because it's provocative, but because it's liberated. And that energy, that unapologetic presence, is what captures a man in the deepest way. To see most people, men and women alike, carry around so much shame around wanting. Whether it's social conditioning, religious upbringing, or just years of feeling like they have to downplay their needs to be acceptable. Desire becomes this thing we tiptoe around. But when a woman shows up in the bedroom and makes it clear through her energy, her touch, her voice, that she's not just participating, she's craving this connection, it shifts the dynamic entirely. She's not giving something away. She's not performing. She's experiencing. And when a man feels that you want him, not need him, not tolerate him, but want him, it lights something primal inside of him. This kind of woman doesn't wait for the man to make all the moves. She's responsive, but she's also expressive. She knows that it's not about being aggressive. It's about being open. She might initiate a kiss. She might whisper what she wants. She might press closer, breathe deeper, or take the lead in a moment. And not because she's trying to impress, but because she's in tune with her body and not afraid to follow it. That kind of authenticity is rare. It's not about putting on a show. It's about being present in her pleasure. Men can feel the difference between someone going through the motions and someone who's actually there, deeply connected to what she wants. When a woman lets go of the internal censor that says, is this okay? Am I too much? And instead surrenders to her own passion, she becomes unforgettable because she's not seeking approval. She's expressing truth. And in that space, the bedroom becomes something more than physical. It becomes emotional, spiritual even. It becomes a space where 2 people can stop performing and start connecting. Here's the most important part. When you show up in that way, it gives him permission to do the same. Your confidence in your desire makes it safe for him to drop the act, to stop trying to impress you, and to actually meet you in that space of real, raw intimacy. It's not about being wild or loud or bold for the sake of it. It's about being you fully, fearlessly. And that, more than anything, is what draws a man in, not just for the night, but again and again. Because when a woman is confident in her desire, she's not just sexy, she's alive. And deeply seductive things a woman can do in bed is make sound. Now, I'm not talking about performance. This isn't about trying to sound like a scene from a movie or faking noises because you think it's what he wants to hear. I'm talking about honest, unfiltered expression, the kind that slips out when you're fully present in your body and not trapped in your head. And here's the truth. For most men, nothing is more of a turn on than knowing without a shadow of a doubt that you're feeling pleasure, that you're not just there with him, but inside the moment with him. Sound is a form of communication. It's feedback. It tells him this feels good. It tells him stay there, do that again. But more than that, it tells him you're not holding back, that you're not just physically naked, you're emotionally exposed. And that's where the magic is, because sound is vulnerability, and vulnerability is electric. When you moan, when you sigh, when you let out those tiny gasps or breathy whispers, what you're really doing is inviting him into your world. You're showing him that you trust the space enough to let go. And when a man sees that, and when he hears that, it does something deep to him. It makes him want to give more, be more, stay longer. What a lot of people don't realize is that silence in bed, especially when it comes from overthinking or self-consciousness, can feel like disconnection. A man doesn't want to feel like he's alone in the experience. He wants to feel like you're right there with him, not judging, not calculating, but feeling. And sound bridges that gap. It says, I'm here, I feel you, I feel this. It becomes a rhythm the two of you ride together, a conversation that doesn't need words. But here's what's beautiful about it. You don't have to be loud to be powerful. The sound doesn't have to be exaggerated or forced. Even the softest inhale, the smallest whimper can be intimate in a way that pierces through him. Because it's real. It's not scripted. It's not filtered. It's yours. And when a man hears your pleasure, when he hears how he makes you feel, it hits his nervous system in a way that no technique ever could. It affirms him. It connects him to you. It brings him into the now. The women who allow themselves to be vocal, genuinely, organically, tend to create the most memorable sexual experiences, not because they're loud, but because they're alive. They're not performing, they're participating. They're letting their body speak. And in doing so, they become unforgettable. Because long after the clothes are back on, what he remembers is how real it felt, how lost in the moment you were, how that sound echoed in the space between you and made him feel like the only man in the world. And that's the sound that stays with him. One of the most undeniably sexy things a woman can do in bed, and this might surprise you, is take control. Not all the time, not in a performative or overly dominant way, but in moments, in flashes, in those little power shifts that catch a man off guard and completely take his breath away. You see, most men are used to leading. They've been conditioned to initiate, to make the moves, to set the pace. But when a woman, in the heat of the moment, flips the script, even just for a second, it stirs something deeper in him. Because now she's not just along for the ride, she's steering. And that shift is electric. It could be as simple as the way she kisses him first, the way she presses him back onto the bed and straddles him, the way she takes his hands and places them where she wants them. Or maybe it's not physical at all. Maybe it's in the way she looks at him with that kind of fire that says, don't move, let me take care of this. In that moment, she's not asking, she's not waiting, she's claiming the experience. And it's not about ego or power, it's about freedom. It's about owning her desire and being unapologetic about it. That kind of boldness is rare. It's intoxicating. Because when you take control in a moment like that, what you're really saying is, I know what I want, and I'm not afraid to take it. You become the fantasy. Not because you're acting out a scene, but because you're radiating certainty. You're showing that your sexuality isn't passive, it's expressive, it's intelligent, it's awake. And here's what happens when you do that. He melts, he softens, his guard comes down, because suddenly he's no longer stuck in performance mode trying to prove something. He gets to surrender. And that surrender is powerful, because most men don't get that space to let go, to be guided, to feel like someone else has taken the wheel. It creates balance, it creates tension, it creates this ebb and flow that feels like a dance, not a routine. The trick is that it doesn't need to be constant. In fact, it's even more powerful when it happens in contrast to softness. When a man sees you go from receptive to assertive, from gentle to commanding, from playful to intense, it throws him, it excites him, it keeps him guessing. That unpredictability is what keeps desire alive, because now sex isn't a pattern, it's an experience, one that neither of you can fully control, and that's what makes it unforgettable. So if you're ever holding back from taking the lead because you're worried it might be too much, I want you to rethink that, because your confidence, your ability to take the reins in a way that's still feminine, still grounded, still you, isn't just sexy, it's hypnotic. And when it's done with intention, with presence, and with that spark in your eye, it's the kind of moment he'll replay in his head long after the night is over. There is something undeniably sexy about a woman who brings playfulness into the bedroom. And I don't mean silly or immature. I mean the kind of lightness that comes from being completely at ease with yourself and the moment. It's the woman who doesn't treat sex like a performance or a checklist or some tense event that has to go perfectly. Instead, she brings a sense of curiosity, adventure, and joy into intimacy. That kind of energy, it's magnetic. Playfulness is about being present. It's when you can laugh if something awkward happens instead of shutting down. It's when you're not afraid to be a little cheeky, a little bold, a little spontaneous. It's when you tease him, flirt with him, throw him off just enough that he's completely caught up in the moment with you. Men love this because it creates an experience that feels alive. It breaks the seriousness, the pressure, the expectations that can so easily weigh down even the most passionate moments. And when a man is with a woman who doesn't feel like she's trying to be sexy, but who's just naturally confident in her playful energy, it disarms him, it invites him in, because here's the truth. Most people are under an enormous amount of pressure when it comes to sex. Pressure to perform, to please, to get it right. And that pressure kills connection. But a playful woman brings levity to the room. She reminds both of you that sex is supposed to be fun, that it's okay to be imperfect, that it's okay to try something new and not worry if it works or not. Her vibe says, we're in this together. Let's explore. Let's mess up. Let's laugh if it gets weird. That energy is irresistible, not just because it's relaxing, but because it builds emotional safety. It tells him, you can be yourself with me. And here's the key difference. Playfulness doesn't mean you're not sensual. In fact, it enhances sensuality because it shows that you're not in your head, you're in your body. You're free, you're engaged, you're responsive. You're able to go from laughter to passion in a heartbeat because you're not stuck trying to manage the moment. You're just living it. And a woman who can shift gears like that, she's unforgettable because she doesn't just create physical pleasure, she creates emotional intimacy. When a man is with a woman like that, he doesn't feel like he has to perform either. He relaxes, he opens up, he connects. And suddenly, it's not just sex, it's chemistry, it's connection. It's something worth remembering. So if you've ever felt like you need to be more perfect in bed, more composed, more controlled, let that go. The real magic is in being playful, being real, being willing to let go and enjoy the moment. That's what makes you captivating. That's what makes you sexy. And that's what keeps him coming back, not just for your body, but for you. One of the most breathtakingly sexy things a woman can do in bed, something that doesn't get talked about enough, is stay connected. And I don't mean physically connected. I mean emotionally and energetically connected. So many people think sex is all about the act itself, technique, movement, rhythm. But what truly elevates intimacy into something unforgettable is when you stay with him in eye contact, in touch, in presence throughout the entire experience. Think about it. How many times have you heard stories of people who had technically great sex but walked away feeling empty or disconnected? That's because no amount of chemistry can make up for a lack of attention. What makes a woman stand out isn't just how she moves. It's how she sees him in the moment, how she stays attuned to him, how she doesn't mentally check out or drift away into her own insecurities, but instead stays right there, communicating through her eyes, her breath, her expression, her hands. That kind of presence is rare, and it's deeply attractive. Because when a woman stays connected, a man feels like more than just a body in the room. He feels chosen, he feels safe. He feels like he's not just performing for your pleasure, but experiencing something with you. That emotional loop, that unbroken energy between you creates a feedback cycle of desire. It turns sex into something layered, intimate, spiritual even. It's in the small things, holding eye contact when things get intense, running your hand down his arm while staying close, whispering something soft or affirming, even the way you stay present after in those quiet, vulnerable moments, resting your head on his chest, stroking his skin, making him feel like the connection didn't just switch off when the climax passed. Because the truth is, men crave connection more than they admit. And when they find a woman who doesn't disconnect in those moments, who stays open, tender, and attuned, it shakes them in the best possible way. That kind of intimacy doesn't just make a man want more sex, it makes him want you, all of you, again and again. One of the sexiest, most confidence-boosting things a woman can do in bed is tell a man what she loves. And I'm not just talking about giving directions or instructions, although that's helpful too. I mean expressing genuine appreciation in the moment for what turns you on, what makes you feel good, what he's doing right. Because most men, whether they admit it or not, are flying blind. They want to please you. They really do. But they don't always know how. When you tell him what you love, it doesn't just guide him, it excites him. It makes him feel capable, desired, and deeply connected to you. And here's the important part. It's not about criticism. It's not about saying, don't do that. It's about reinforcing the things that feel amazing. A simple, God, I love when you touch me there, or I love the way you kiss me like that, can electrify a man. Because now he's not just doing something, he's creating a reaction in you. He feels powerful in the best way, like he's tapped into something real and raw that's uniquely yours. This kind of feedback builds trust. It makes him feel safe to explore more with you. It encourages communication without pressure. It turns sex into a dialogue, not a guessing game. And what's even better, when you tell him what you love, it gives you permission to own your pleasure too. You're no longer just on the receiving end. You're an active participant. And that dynamic, that mutual investment, is what turns a good sexual connection into a deeply satisfying one. Because when a woman speaks her truth in the bedroom, it's not just sexy, it's powerful. And it makes the experience unforgettable for both of you. So there you have it, 6 of the sexiest things women do in bed according to men. And as you've probably noticed, none of these are about having a perfect body or performing some acrobatic routine. They're about presence, confidence, connection. They're about a woman who's unapologetically in her body, in the moment, and not afraid to express what she wants and what she loves. That's what men crave. Realness over performance, depth over technique, passion over perfection. If there's one thing I want you to take away from this, it's that your power in intimacy doesn't come from mimicking anyone else. It comes from owning your unique energy, your voice, your touch, your truth. That's what makes you unforgettable. And that's what keeps him thinking about you long after the lights go out. Now, if this resonated with you and you're ready to build not just attraction, but real, lasting connection in your love life, make sure you stick around, subscribe, follow, whatever you need to do, because we're just getting started. You deserve the kind of love that sees you, holds you, and ignites you. And I'm here to help you get there. Let's keep going.